Okay, here we have my Opel Zafira B with an Assure Android radio and the reversing camera built into the license plate lamp at the back. So with the camera you get this nice long video connection lead, and it has this red dangly wire hanging out both ends. The really cool thing is this wire can be used to send the reverse gear signal from the radio to the camera at the back, in other words to power the camera. So the way this works is, in here we have a CAN bus decoder that came with the radio. So there's some black magic going on here, but I guess the radio can decode the CAN bus signal, pick up the reversing signal from the engine computer, and when the car is in reverse gear it powers up this lead here with 12 volts. It's clearly written reverse, so you get 12 volts between this red lead and ground. I tested it. There is also a ground lead coming out one of these connectors on the radio. So in other words, the radio can provide the 12 volt reverse gear selected signal from the CAN bus or through some magic, and then you can use this lead wired to your video lead that runs all the way back to the camera to power your camera. So let's go and take a look at that. I ran the lead as per my friend did, so through the glove box here, up the back here, over the sills and far away, all the way to the back of the car. So let's take a journey to the back. Okay, now we are at the rear of the Opel Zafira B, the blue boost bus. So that video camera lead, which comes from the front, it runs all the way over the sills. How did we do it? It runs up inside here, inside the head lining. Maybe I can drop that a little bit. And it is this cable here that I'm just dangling here. It goes up through the wiring conduit into the tailgate. Oops, I just knocked my multimeter lead down. Into the tailgate, down here, tied up with some cable ties. Down here, over here, and here you see the other end. So the ends look the same. You have a video connection and this red cable. This red cable also runs the length of the cable, and this is your 12 volt signal. We can use this as your 12 volt signal to say the reverse gear is selected. The radio provides 12 volts between here and ground when you're in reverse gear through the magic of CAN bus. So what you can do is use this lead to power your camera. So this is the camera lead going in here. The camera is mounted to the number plate light, and what we're going to do is, with the camera also comes a plug that goes in here with two bare ends. So what we're going to do is wire this red lead to the red lead of the plug that provides the 12 volt positive signal, and the other lead is the negative or ground. We're going to take that to maybe this screw here, and then we're going to have 12 volts between here and here when the reversing gear is selected. So it's a really nice setup, really good solution from Assure and this license plate camera manufacturer. Oh, another tip I discovered, I believe if you cut this wire here, then you will get the lines on the video camera, the distance lines showing how far you're away from the wall. Haven't tested that yet, so at the moment there are no lines. I get a picture, but no lines. I tested it by running, plugging in a 12 volt adapter in here, and when I put the car in reverse on the radio, which you can't see, but on the radio up there, I do get a picture through the video lead, and the camera is always powered on because I have an AC/DC adapter plugged in here. But now the next step is to power the camera from the 12 volt reverse gear selected signal, which we get between this lead and the ground of the car. So we're going to do that. Okay guys, just to show you this live in action, I've got my multimeter connected here on DC volts. It is connected on one side to the red cable, which is coming from the video cable that runs all the way to the front of the car to the Azure radio, and the other lead is connected to that bolt, which is the ground, the earth of the car. So those two leads going down to my multimeter, and at the moment it's reading 0 volts because it's not in reverse gear. So let's change that. So now we're up at the front of the car. I'm going to turn the ignition on. Try to, at least, with one hand. So things are firing up. My Azure radio is fired up. And I'm just going to put the car into reverse gear. So now reverse gear is selected. We don't have a picture because this is just a demo, the camera is not powered up, but reverse gear is selected. What I want to show you is that we have a signal. Whoops, what have I done here? I think I bumped a fan, but never mind, just balance that carefully here. Very carefully get out of the car, stroll down to the back. My multimeter is connected between that red lead and the black lead is connected to ground, and lo and behold, we have a little bit less than 11 and 12 volts. So maybe my battery needs charging. Got to be careful, don't want to run the battery down. But that proves that we have a 12 volt signal when the car is in reverse gear. Okay, boys and girls, as you can see, I have my radio turned on, and I am about to turn the ignition on here. There we go, lights are on. I have this red reverse signal coming from the radio connected to the video cable, which goes all the way to the back to my reversing light camera. And now I'm going to put it into reverse gear. So now we're in reverse gear and we have a picture. You're just going to have to believe me, but that is the picture of the ceiling of the garage. Looks like a bit of a endoscopy, but yep, I have a picture. So the camera is powered up only when it's in reverse gear. We'll take it out of reverse. So now it's out of reverse gear, no picture, no camera. Just gently lay the radio down, turn everything off, and I'll take you to the back and show you what I did back there. So this is the ceiling of my garage. That was the picture that we were getting. So the camera is pointing up the ceiling, obviously. This is the other end of the video cable with this little red lead that also runs the length of the cable. This provides the reverse gear selected signal, 12 volts. So we've taken this, wired it through an inline fuse in the hopes that if something goes wrong with my dodgy wiring, it's not going to take out my nice expensive Android radio. This goes into the camera, powering the camera. The negative from the camera is connected to the earth here to the car, providing circuit 12 volts between here and here when reverse gear is selected. So that's all good. Now it just remains to tidy it up so that it meets the standards of Mr. Aaron Unknown, my friend. Well, it's never going to get close to that, but going in that direction. So just one more tip, I believe. If we cut this loop here, like so, if we cut that, then the camera's going to give us some guidelines. So let's see if that works. Okay, just to prove that we do have a picture, these are the guidelines now showing up on the camera now that I've cut that little white lead. So the default position is no guidelines. If you cut that white lead, the camera will provide these guidelines. Cool, eh? So one last test before we close it all up. There's the rear view camera view with the reverse gear selected. Now we're out of reverse gear, camera is off, ignition on. This is what it looks like in the back. I tried to make a reasonably nice loom out of it. Inline fuse sitting there. Hopefully I never have to use it. Tidied up this bit. That's the negative, the earth for the camera. This is the positive signal for the camera. Got a bit of a loomy thing going on here. I'm not entirely happy with this, but the cable from the front was only just long enough. So I think we can put the panels on now and clean it all up, and then we're going to solder up the wire up the front, put the radio in, and we're good to go.